Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 14th episode of this podcast. And once again, it's me, Nayeef, and Martina Geromin here with us. Today, we'll be talking about a school that travels with you. So, Martina, would you like to start?
Yes, a school that travels with you. I mean, that was also part why School Beyond Limitations was also founded, because I myself used to be an expat, and we were living internationally and moving from one place to another. We were not moving every other year, but still we were moving from one country to another, and which implied, of course, lots of opportunities, but at the same time also lots of questions and also worries for us as parents, and especially for us as parents, seeing, our son being taken out from an environment that he loved and needing to go to another country, finding out new systems, finding out whether there was a school that would fit the purpose, and yet also leaving back friends that were so dear to him. It's always a traumatic experience. At one point, it's also exciting because there is something new you do with your child. But for your child, it's kind of dramatic because especially if they have established very steady friendships and if they have settled into a school and with their class and so forth and with their teachers, it was quite something. So what we do at the time, I was always being or coming from the field of education. For me, that was a very important aspect, to first find out myself which school would fit more or less my child in this specific case. And then I went to see different schools, and the shortlisted schools then were schools that I then visited again together with my child to find out what is now the right fit for him in this case. And yet I need to say, even if you find the right fit, it's interesting, and this is something that I found out during those experiences, is that even if you may go from one system, a school system, to the same school system, but in another country, in another school, the interpretation of that system is completely different. So what happened basically? It happened that there was always kind of unsettlement there also. And at the same time, I realized how important it was in this specific case, to, as parents, to guide the child in this experience, to give stability to the child, because usually it takes really, at least this was in my personal experience, and when we talk and when I talk to other expat families, it was interesting to find out everyone had a little bit a similar experience, because expats then met with one another. There were expat clubs and so forth. So expats who already lived in that country for a longer time, they supported the newcomers and so forth. And it was very clear that at the end of the day, everyone said it takes years, at least 1 to 2 years, to settle into a new environment. And the best way to help your child basically to feel secure in that environment and stable, because without stability, without, a child will not be able, even if you have found a school that you think is similar to the school that you came from, there are so many other variables that basically shape, the experience. So it was clear to make time for this child, make times and introduce certain routines also at home that you used to have back in the other country, so that the child has an understanding. It is a different country, but I'm embedded in a family context with certain routines. And out of that, it was clear to me at the time, why isn't it possible to create a school, actually, as you said at the beginning with the title, a school that travels with you? a school where you do not have to completely change everything all over again, because it's already changing country, changing into a new cultural background, moving into a country with a different language. That's already quite something. But if you could have something that is stable there, and a school that travels with you, then you would still be with the same peers, you would still be with the same teachers, facilitators, you would still be in the same system, so to speak, and the system will not change because it's the same place. And that's why School Beyond Limitations also was founded. That was one of the reasons to establish an environment where there is another variable of continuity, that the variables that are already there and are so different will be supported by the continuity that comes from the school and not only from the family. So I think I would like to now bounce it back to you, Nayeef, because traveling or having a school that travels with you opens lots of new possibilities, doesn't it? So, out of your perspective as a student, as a former student of SPL, what were the possibilities that opened up suddenly by knowing that you have a school that is not limited to four walls and you have to go there constantly, but you can take the school with you?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that whenever we attend a school, we generally sign for a value. We sign for a message. So if there is a school that travels with you, you carry the message with you everywhere you go. I have always, stayed in my city. I went to different schools, but within a very limited city area. So there wasn't much traveling when I was younger. But when I joined SBL, and then there was this opportunity for me to just carry the school entire setting with me. It became a lot easier for me to travel and also experience a lot of the different things that I wanted to. I remember that whenever my parents wanted to travel somewhere, they always hesitated because, of course, there is my school, there is my elder brother's school. So what will happen to the progress? It generally slows down to adapt to a new culture or to give it a break and then have the vacation on and then go back to regular classes again. So I would have always stayed with either of my parents, and one of my parents would have always went. So the family bonding wasn't really there. You didn't really go with the family, which also in SBL it encourages it a lot because I'm going to go back to our core value. Life is a constant journey. So if life is a constant journey, I have to be a part of every single thing because every single moment counts. I mean, there are countless of events that we miss in when we are in conventional setting because of this not having this opportunity to travel around or to move with the family, to move with parents, and this just it just doesn't have to happen if you have a school that you can carry with you because you're not giving a pause to your education, to your access to knowledge, but at the same time you're adapting to something new in a different culture and you're carrying the message from the school and then you're spreading it around. And especially if it's a school that holds such core message of unity, of bringing everybody together, of engaging into new things, that's when it gives a new kick. When you settle or you adapt to a new culture, they get inspired by this kind of mindset you grow with the school like SBL because it's also about spreading the message, spreading the mindset that every single one of the students have. I always go back to the story that you shared with me. I wasn't there present in one of the residentials, but I remember you telling me a story that the school students were in Helsinki, if I remember correctly, and the locals there were very impressed by the maturity and by the progress of students who are barely even, teenagers. They're like 12, 13, and 14s. And this is the message, because they're carrying the school with them, they're learning through it, and then they're also spreading it around. And I think it's really important to have something like that, especially for parents who are always traveling for work and moving, because for someone who has been in a school for, let's say, X amount of years, and then they suddenly shift to another school, it's really difficult not just to adapt to the culture, but also to understand what's happening around them. There's a lot going on. I mean, you're moving from your place to another place. There's already this shift of culture, shift of maybe environment, and then there's this shift of educational curriculum and classroom culture. So it's a lot of pressure. So SBL could come up as a pressure releaser for someone who is not willing to change their learning environment. And this is even great because it's only 3 hours of school. So what happens is that it gives you a lot more chance to engage with the community and adapt in a more, um, let's say, more meaningful manner with the new environment that you're selling. Because the pressure for having to change your classroom culture and environment, which in general you spend most of your time in as a kid, I think that's a big shift for someone. It's like, changing parents and changing siblings and going to a different family and living with them. That's a lot of pressure, and we generally spend a lot of time in our school. So, yeah, I think this is going to open up a great door for parents and also those students who travel a lot and also who just likes to be a part of every single moment that their family is going with.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly touched upon something very important. It's carrying along values that are so radicated, right? It's important, as we said before, and as I also said before, even if you are coming or going from one setting to another setting, which applies the same system, it's still not the same because the interpretation of the system depends on the human beings. And when we are traveling with a school, then this school is coming along with you. And you also mentioned an important aspect, which is looking at learning as a lifelong journey, right? I mean, if I carry a stability with me that is radicated and rooted into on values that really give the person this kind of certainty within themselves, because values such as unity, you mentioned unity, but our values are multicultural sensitivity, open-mindedness, global citizenship, non-judgmental, being ready, as you said before, about Helsinki. I mean, I could also mention lots of other examples, but I remember a few years back we had a kind of residential week based on creating new business ideas. So it was an entrepreneurial week in Rotterdam, and it was led by university lecturers as well as entrepreneurs, and they still do the exact same course with master students at university. And our students, as you rightly said, they ranged from the age of 10 to the age of 18, and they were all in working, across ages in small groups. And the feedback that we received also at that time was actually very similar. They said, "Oh, this is incredible. This is much more appealing to them than working with master students at conventional universities, because there was so much initiative coming from the students, so much creativity still, so much this understanding that they can really create out of a growth mindset on the basis of what their ideas are, and they can put them into place, and they had this kind of unconventional thinking, what else is possible. So this is also an amazing feedback. And and if school then shows you that school is not limited to the four walls, and then you separate from school, actually school is a constant pillar in your life, because that reminds you of how important it is to collaborate, to connect, and so forth. Then school is a lifestyle. It's a movement. It's an attitude, as I always say. It's not, a setting I go to, tick off, and then I finish. So when school travels with you, this can really happen, and you are the best example, Nayeef, now. And you are certainly not the only example, but you are one of the best examples, because you are outside of School Beyond Limitations as a student, and you are still within School Beyond, you're still with us. You still carry what we have been doing with you, and you will spread, and you don't just do that in the future, will be doing it in the future. You are doing it on a daily basis, and so traveling, taking the school with you, allows the stress to be taken off, as you rightly said before. So there's less stress, but opening new possibilities. That doesn't mean that if you are within a school setting, an online school setting, that you are withdrawn from the learning, you are withdrawn from social interactions, because I think that's also something that many parents wonder and are worried about. What would you say, Nayeef, on that, to that end? Is it really true that online schooling that travels with you, that shapes, that helps you actually bring what you are learning outside of the school hours into the school context, whether this actually detaches you from social connections? How would you talk about that or view that?
Well, it is definitely something to worry about for parents, both the parents and the students, because once you connect with someone in the school or in the classroom, you make friends, you make bondings, and when you travel or you go to a different place, it's usually that the bond is not as strong. The connection doesn't stay as long as we would have expected in many cases, not in all, of course. Uh, this is something that I have felt that SBL successfully um, overcome because as we were just speaking, I think soon we have a Dragon's Den coming up. It's like the entrepreneurial week where everybody pitches their businesses this week, actually, this Friday. So I had a peer that I was connected to more than 2 years ago. And yesterday he called me and he said, hey, I want to continue with the project that you started last year with the Dragon's Den. And I have some more students in my classroom who I want to work this with. And we all got connected over WhatsApp and we were sharing ideas. We were sharing what, was initiated last year. And then, I sort of like put in some information and they shared their vision and their understanding of this. And this was like such a shared collaboration kind of thing, which normally wouldn't have happened if we were in a conventional setting, because we generally get that understanding that once the classroom is over, once we are out of school, the connection just doesn't stay as strong because I don't know, maybe because it's just what we are as humans psychologically. In many cases, it just doesn't stay as strong. But of course, there are exceptions. But SBL made that exception an example because every single one of the peers who are connected online are very well connected after school because they're not only learning what's within the classroom setting, but also outside school. They are engaging in so many activities together. Special, I mean, unfortunate for me that I have missed all the residentials, but special in the residentials, when people connect, they connect so deeply. Whenever I used to hear feedbacks from everyone, from my peers that I was in with, everybody shared that they wanted to do something else once the school was over, once they graduated together, and they are doing it. I'm still very well connected with all the peers that I was in last year and the year before. And this is the magic. I mean, usually we tend to think when we are online, maybe the connection wouldn't be as strong, maybe the social interaction isn't that much of a thing. Maybe it's just a school that you're just learning. It's wrong. Because it's wrong because I have been an example of this, and so are the others, that you can have such a strong bond even outside of school, even if it's online. Especially in our generation, we're very much technologically driven, so it's much more easier for us to stay connected. And yeah, that's I would say that this worry is has been taken away by the school. So
Well, and I would like to go even further with this, Naif, because I love, of course, to hear this, because I think it's also testament of the depth that we are living at school beyond limitations with regards to social connections and emotional stability, but it's still based on online meetings, what you mentioned before. Of course, those people who are within reach, they still also meet in real life. But what I wanted also to mention, even if you are at the other side of the world, and you can't necessarily say, tomorrow we meet, what we aim for our students to do out of the perspective that learning and social interaction, we invite our students to actually go out into the world and interact with people on site, interact with people who are maybe not necessarily within school, and to meet people in real life, so we don't say just stay at home and stay in front of your computer. And then on the contrary, we actually say, okay, now computer time is over, online learning is over. How can we do that? How can you apply it in your real life? I just had a conversation the other day with a student who got very interested in the exploration of sharks, right? Sharks. And I was fascinated just by listening to them, because I thought this is incredible. Because the student said, it changed my perspective on sharks completely through this inquiry, through this research. And what did they do? They reached out to marine biologists to find out more. And you can do that really in real life. You can go there, you can go to the museum, you can find like-minded people, talk to them, meet with them, like you did. Maybe you can bring some of your examples, how you went to the Department of Education because you wanted to, or you still aim to bring school beyond limitations to your country. So maybe this is an aspect that should also be explained a little bit more, because online, of course, social connections can be built and last in the long run also online. But how important it is to really bring it to the physical arena as well.
I mean, there is no use of online interactions if you can bring it to physical in real life, right? So, of course, I do want to touch upon that because the school is only of 3 hours, and then, of course, we get the action steps and so on. But a big part of the school's learning is that you actually go out and do the things and pursue what you want to do in life. And the school supports all the way through. I remember going out about 2 years ago to the ministries of education and ministries of planning and different other ministries, to politicians, to leaders, to government, to presidents, everyone, just for networking, in general. Of course, a big part of my idea was to bring SBL in Bangladesh, somehow with a physical setting. Another part of the reason was, we just had, an uprising last year of political, instability, let's call it that way. So I just wanted to bring some new projects to Bangladesh to bring some changes that would work better for the nation. So these are all big ideas that I signed up for. But then again, I had to network. I had to actually go out to people, and that level of confidence, I would say, that level of social interaction, interacting skills, that level of communication skills, do require practice, years of practice, which I had in SBL. I think I finished my school after 5 years. Was it 5 years? Yeah, yeah. I have my school graduation after 5 years in SBL, and the amount of public speaking skills, the amount of communication skills I gained from here is unimaginable. I wouldn't have had 10% of it. I'm being very honest, if I was in a conventional setting or a conventional school, because they don't necessarily teach you real life learning or skills that you actually need to survive in real world. It's all theory based, which I'm always opposed to. Of course, I don't mean to demean the academic studies, but if it's only just theoretical and there's no practical use of it, it's kind of useless for me. So this is what SBL supports you in. It actually asks you to go out and go out of your online, little barrier, and then, see the bigger picture and connect and network. And I have seen a lot of the people that I've graduated with do this very same. They're traveling either, or they're connecting with business people, or they're connecting with universities, and they're all succeeding in every single sector that they're stepping into. And it's not just one or two examples. It's the result of majority of the students who are coming out of SBL. I'm gonna say even all of the students who are coming out of SBL. Correct me on that.
Yeah, I think in the long run, for sure, everyone, because as we said before, it's a lifestyle, it's an attitude, it's based on values that you carry with you. So if parents who listen to us were to aim for something like that, it seems, at least to me, that there is evidence that, if you have a school that travels with you based on solid values, that you are in a position of giving your child just the best, for their lives in the
Martin,
moment.
if I may just interrupt a little bit, talking about online and physical, there is also like a work of combination of both. I remember having online connections with some of my peers 2 years ago, 3 years ago even, and I started a project here in Bangladesh to support the orphans in the northern part, like one of the poorest regions of Bangladesh. And I've raised, some good amount of money from the people of my country, but as well as from peers who lived completely on the other side of the world. And they all were a part of the support for the orphans here in Bangladesh. And this is what's special to me, that even if you're just connected online, you can still run projects or contribute to the world physically and bring it to reality if the bond is strong enough, if there is a common understanding, and if there are common values being shared. So, yeah.
So I think this takes us to the end of this episode. Nayeef, thank you so much. I guess, having such clarity within yourself that a school that travels with you can give you so many opportunities beyond limitations that stay with you and that are not forgotten, that stay with you and they are not forgotten. They help you in your real life, to shape your moment, your present moment, as much as your future, because you're constantly asking yourselves, or we start asking ourselves the questions, what else is possible, right? And if we have somebody next to us who supports us with our ideas. So thank you,
Thank you
Nayeef.
very much.
At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can, indeed, bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And as you know, sharing is caring.